My name is Beth Russell Smith. I'm a longtime trustee, and I'm delighted to welcome all of you here tonight. Thank you for coming. Honestly, it is hard to believe that the new library is 20 years old, and I try to imagine what Dorothy would think about that. Am I loud enough? Really? I've never been accused of being quiet. But anyway, I'll speak louder. Yes. Oh, that's so comfortable. There's so many people to thank for creating tonight's celebration. We have the Hampshire Regional High School Jazz Performers, and we also have the Edwards Players. So lots to look forward to. And then we have all of you. This is a great facility. But as you know, it's so much more than a repository of knowledge. We've got that, books and CDs, because Edwards Public Library is a people place. It is a place that engages and stimulates, invites exploration, and supports learning. Our library is a community center. It is an integral part of Southampton, a place where people gather for fun activities, engaging discussions, civic meetings, maybe not that, okay, computer access, and people connections. We are lucky to have a wonderful group of professional librarians running the show, and to have people supporting the library, the trustees, great group of friends, and so many great volunteers. Please secure a glass of wine, because we're going to have a toast, or whatever you're drinking. Everybody have something to toast with? So what should we say? A toast to everyone who helps make Edwards Public Library such a special place. Thank you. Tonight we're going to be sort of short and sweet. That's me always. We're going to share some library history with you. The librarians are going to have a chance to speak with you. We are definitely inviting everyone. All of you guys are regulars, and if you haven't renewed your Friends membership, please do, because that helps us sustain all the programs here. And we're going to have cake at the end, and if you haven't looked at it, it's pretty fantastic rendering of this building. So next, I want to introduce Convi Stahl, who is one of the co-chairs of the trustees. Thank you.
I have the pleasure of talking about the history of the library, and when I was asked about this, I of course knew, being on the building committee for this library. Louder? Oh, my children wish that they were here, because they always said I spoke too loud. So in any event, so I got the pleasure of really getting into some of the archives and being able to look at what is the history of the library here. Before I go any further, I want to make sure that I give credit to the people who helped me in that. One is Julia Crowell, who I don't know very much about, but I read a lot in the archives that she did. Carrie Phillips Poehler, who was a trustee in 1937, who did a very nice compilation about the library. Andrea Warren, which some of you may know, was a teacher at Hampshire Regional, and also trustee, did some work. And then we have Ed Daniels, who was the chairman of our building committee and also has written quite a bit about the library, which I'm indebted to for his work that he's done, and that's going to get included. Johanna Douglas and Carol Goulet, also of the library staff, assisted me. Richard Frary, which many of you know, of course, is Dorothy's husband, but a historian on his own and very, very helpful. And Lindsay Dollar, who also helped me a great deal. So before I go further, I want to make sure that they are included in my remarks. So let's go back to 1780, because that's really when... There he is. Speak of the devil, and he arrives. So we'll go back to 1780. There was... He doesn't go back that far. No, not quite, not quite. So we have Reverend Jonathan Judd of the Congregational Church as one of the members who decides to form a library here in Southampton. I found that most ironic, since I live on Jonathan Judd Circle, so here it's kind of full circle. There were 20 people, 19 men, 1 woman. Julia, Mrs. Pomeroy was the only woman there. And they form a library. It's a private library, but nonetheless, you could pay and you could take out books, and it was in the Woodbridge House here on East Street, which is across from the police station. 4 times a year they opened it up and you were allowed. And if you were late, you had to pay 8 cents a day for your fine. So, and that was a lot of money apparently back in that time. So the library goes on to about 1812, and then it dissolves. The books are sold. There's some references that we have Reverend Burge, who may have has some books in his home that is lent out. But really it is now in 1880 that we see that the Southampton Library Association is formed. It is registered with the state of Massachusetts. There are trustees formed. They have a constitution, and they have a number of books. And you could become a member, $1 for 1 year, $5 for 8 years, and if you wanted to be a lifetime member, that was $10. And so I don't know which was most popular, but in any event, they had a number of books which you could do. And they were based in the Sheldon Academy, which was a private school, which is right near the town hall, right, Dick?
Between the town hall and the church.
And the church.
Fit in that little space. And
Yeah, and there, so it was there. And there's some reference that it may have at one time even been in Town Hall for a short period of time. But in any event, that exists until 1903. Now, interestingly, the town did contribute to the library at that time. Came from the dog fund, of all things. In any event, we take money for wherever we can get it from. So we now, in 1903, have the Southampton Association now donating their property, which is the books, now to the Edwards Library. Edwards Library is formed through the town and through a generous donation by Reverend Edwards. And I know he has a son and the two, I get their first names mixed up, but it's Reverend Edwards. And he gives $5,000 to build the old library over here on College Highway. And we have, this I have to check my notes to remember, on who gives us our land? Mrs. Sheldon, poor Mrs. Sheldon. She gives $1,000 for the land. And so now we have the town funding the library, and we have the trustees from the old association coming on board now to the Edwards Library, and we have now money being coming from the town to pay and support for the library. Our first librarian was Edward Burge, and he was quite prolific in some of his writings, which is interesting to read. So we go forth. In 1973, we have the formation of the Friends of the Library. And I want to mention that because they're very, very important, even back in 1973. Dorothy Frary was an active member, even though she was our children's librarian before she became our library director, very active in formation and helping them. And today they are very, very valuable to us. Our computer service, our library passes that we get, our museum passes that we get. We're having a sign that the Friends are paying for. So if you are not a friend, please become a friend, because they really help us and to give some of the extra things that we need in the library that we couldn't have. So I want to make sure that we give acknowledgement to them. And they're back in 1973. So in 1983, we realized that that wonderful little building, Dorothy Frary, of course, was the librarian back then, and Carol Freeborn for the children. We loved it, but we were out of space. The stuffed birds went, we put the books in instead, but we couldn't find any more space to go. And so a committee was formed and about the feasibility of having a new library. So this is in 1983. In 1985, we become a pilot program. 1988, we actually get money from the town. We're going to have a library. We're going to take the old library, we're going to move it over here, we're going to add on to it. It was a wonderful plan. There was only one problem. When the town voted for it, they didn't keep a written record of it. And so in the state of Massachusetts, you can't get money unless your vote has been actually recorded. So you know how we go in town meeting, we raise our hand, someone has to count that. So we lost it. I can tell you, Ed Daniels and Dorothy Frary riled us all up to get going on here. We were not going to get discouraged. We were going to have our library. Norm was on the committee, Barbara Wilflam I see there, Debbie Pinsky. There's many people, as you all know, and we were discouraged at that point. We really were. However, we prevailed on, and we finally got the library built. We got the money, although even then we still did not have quite enough money. So the trustees, fortunately, because of previous people, had given us trust funds. We used some of that money literally to go down to the minimum left. And then local landscapers donated their time and plantings to help finish. And there were other donations made so that we could make our library happen. And so the library occurred. This beautiful building opened up. We thought we died and went to heaven because we had all this space. However, we're already filling it up. So it was a wonderful experience. Again, I want to give tribute to Ed because he did so much, and Dorothy, to help this. We're very blessed now to have a wonderful staff here. to make this, as Beth has already mentioned to you, it is a community affair, and I see that going forth it will continue to grow and be loved by everybody here in the library, which is traditional in the United States to have libraries be honored. So I think it's important. As I end, I just want to read something to you, because given the current political situations that are going on right now, this was written in 1896, and it was written by Mr. Clifton Day, who was the superintendent of schools here in Southampton. And he writes about, in his report, in his annual report, about the value of libraries in school and integration and so forth. And he says the usefulness of a library depends not so much on the number of scrupulously clean, unused books upon its shelves, but rather the number of good books it keeps in circulation. For while it seems natural to place a money value on education, parents may properly demand that in return for taxes or tuition for schools, that the schools, and he's talking about libraries in school, should equip pupils with the wherewithal to earn a living, the nobler truth that there is a value in education beyond the money value is bound to press itself home to the minds and hearts of all thoughtful people. Boys and girls should become something more than earners of a living. Squirrels earn living. The boys and girls that are to be the men and women of higher usefulness will be those who can not only earn a living, but those who have some taste for living. Those who can make the proper use of their hours of rest, who can practice the arts of peace in the time of peace, and who have such clear views of honor and truth that they can point the way to a higher individual and national life. And to give inspiration to this higher life is the noblest mission of public schools and libraries. And I thought, in this day and age, how pertinent it is really true, because it is, the library helps us. Pardon? Because we have the internet, and people say to me, Confi, why do we need a library? Because we have the internet. There's so much information. You need someone to help you find that. And that's what libraries are here for. Our librarians help us, and we couldn't do without having a library. So that is about the history. Thank you very much. I'm supposed to be introducing someone, I believe. Is that correct?
Librarians.
The librarians, that would be very nice. So Barbara, would you come forth? Is you coming, and Johanna, or just yourself?
I think Johanna's after me. Here, I worked in a very old library building in East Hampton that was over 100 years old. I loved the building, but when I came here, I appreciated the newness and the airiness and the light coming in from the big picture windows, the cupola, and all the grounds around it. But what I didn't realize that when a building nears 15 to 20 years of age, it gets in need of maintenance. I didn't realize that. I thought, oh boy, I'm coming to a new library. I can put all that behind me. But anyway, when I first came, it was really dark in here. The lights kept going out. Remember, Carol? And people trying to shelve, this is Louise, over in that corner, couldn't see anything. It was like Halloween in there, remember? So that was one thing. Then I found out there were leaks in the office coming through the lights, and there were rot on 3 windowsills, and there was a cupola that needed repair, and an HVAC with obsolete thermostats. And then we found out our public computers had XP, which was also going to be obsolete. So fortunately, the trustees and I tackled each of the issues with the help of the town, and a lot of patrons who donated and of the friends of the library donated. So I'm glad to say that here at the 20th anniversary of the building, all of those problems have been solved. The HVAC is actually going to go through. So we got the cupola repaired, we got the lighting changed. Maxine knows all about that, one of the trustees. We have, actually the front door was stained. So the town just voted to give us a little extra money for the HVAC, and the contract's being signed right now. So we're going to be able to move forward so that one part of the building isn't freezing when the other part is hot, and so on. So I'm glad to have that news tonight. One thing I've learned about being director here is that Edwards Library is much more than a building. It's a community of people who really care about the town and the fellow citizens. It's a place where people see each other and they catch up on news, what's happening with your family, a place where people find good books to read and get information on downloading ebooks. And they bring their little ones to story hour. They use a computer, especially if the one at home isn't working. They hear an author speak. They might attend an SYA meeting in the meeting room. And they water the plants in the memorial garden for Anita Smith. They quilt, they decorate gingerbread cookies, and they get to use a 3D printer for the first time. We're having another one of those in December for adults, 3D printer workshop. So RA, mine and the staff's, is that the library is a welcoming place for everyone, that we serve our community and help build our community, and we could never do it alone. We have so many people and organizations to thank. First of all, we have all our wonderful volunteers. This library has probably more volunteers per capita than any library in the state. They cover books, they shelve books, they help with displays, they fix things, they move things, and they set up and take down for events, help me with my books, my Excel sheet. So we also have the Friends of the Edwards Public Library, which Convi mentioned. We couldn't do without them. The latest gift is a CD and DVD disc buffer, and it's saved 140 of our DVDs so far already, and we've only had it for a couple of months. And as Convi said, they do museum passes. They also gave us money so that we could meet our state accreditation for spending money on materials. That was always a real problem every year. Luckily, the town has voted to give us more money for that, so now we can use Friends money and other donations for programming and for workshops and education for staff. So that's good news too. Community organizations like the Lions Club, George, Southampton Women's Club, the Southampton's Mothers Club, the SYA, many local businesses have also made our programming possible. Our youth summer reading program and adult summer reading program are all on donations. The money is all raised for those things. And we're very fortunate to have a strong group of trustees who pitch in on so many things, including budget, policy making, general troubleshooting, and cheerleading. Cheerleading is very important. And we wouldn't be able to serve this community without the citizens of Northampton and its leaders' support through the town budgeting process. So we have a lot to be grateful for at this 20th anniversary of the building. Thank you.
I'll be very brief. It's notable. Whenever you celebrate something like this, it should be recognized by the townspeople, obviously, and by your elected officials. And representing my colleague Peter Kokot in the House and myself from the State Senate, I thought it would be appropriate to bring a card of sorts, a citation from the State Senate. I'll read that right now. So it says, "The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, State Senate, be it hereby known to all the Massachusetts Sincerest congratulations to the Edwards Public Library in recognition of the celebration of your 20th anniversary in this building, of course, serving the people of Southampton, Massachusetts. Congratulations, and here's to many, many more."
Well, good evening, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk to you about the Youth Department. As many of you know, the Youth Department is more than just books, movies, and computers. The Youth Department is a safe place for families to gather, to explore, interact, and imagine. And I have been the youth librarian now for just under 2.5 years, and I have seen how this library works as a community builder with events just like tonight's 20th anniversary, but also through our monthly Lego Club, our weekly story hour, and our amazing youth summer reading program, where we ally with schools and community organizations to encourage children to create and learn, and adults to share and collaborate. We are also a community center for diverse populations. Imagine, there are so few of this kind of a place available where people from different means and backgrounds can come together. As political scientist Robert Putnam said, people may go to the library looking mainly for information, but they find each other there. My beloved monthly book club illustrates this great capacity to share opposing opinions in a fun and civil atmosphere. That's rare. Meanwhile, in the youth department, all of our events are free, and frequently they are opportunities for local people, from Sergeant Illingsworth with his fingerprinting workshop, to Jessica Huffnagel's yoga class, to Lois Parents' fairy houses, to volunteer their skills. There are so many people who have given generously of their time in my 2.5 years, and I thank them. We are a center for the arts where children can create fairy houses and dress up as pirates and princesses, like at our many parties, including last week's Halloween party and our upcoming Valentine's Tea and Sip and Paint event. And of course, we often perform my favorite thing, which are plays. We have performed our own versions of A Midsummer Night's Dream, Alice in Wonderland, Fractured Fairy Tales, and tonight's Haunted Library, as well as many others. We are not just a place for books, but a place to develop young audiences and confident performers. We are a schoolhouse because we do our best to supply leveled readers, picture books, parenting resources, fiction, nonfiction books on civics, history, arts, environment, and we are always searching for where there are gaps in our collection so that we can ensure equality of access to information. Then we scaffold this information in our books by providing great programming like Minecraft, Makerspace, puppet shows, the Springfield Zoo on the Go, and story hours with our beloved Lynn Guyette and our also beloved Kathy Marks, to name just a few of our programs. We are champions of youth, and we focus on what is important to youth, as well as what they need to know to become excellent students and citizens. We hold dear the beloved books in our collection and information from our past, but we are also conscientious about providing what kids need now and what they will need in the future. Pay close attention to our displays, like the Banned Books Week, and you will see that we entertain and we inform at the same time. Edwards Library is a key municipal agency, an educator, and a major reason why Southampton is such a livable and friendly place to live in. Our collection grows with what this community needs and wants to know. So guess what? This library is more than just a building. It is you, it is your children, it is your grandchildren. It's a living thing, 20 years old, and with a lot of reading to do. Thank you. So I have this little slip of paper because I want to introduce some very important people, and they were our musicians who have been entertaining us all evening long. And they're going to do a little set for us. They are Connor Bell on trumpet. Chris Dunn on the drums. Nathan Marks on bass. And Sam Morrison on tenor sax. Let's hit it. from the other night from our Halloween party, so it's a little bit eerie. Have you guys ever wondered what it would be like to be in this library after the doors are closed and locked and the lights are off? I know what it's like. Very scary. And the computers are quiet and the only thing you hear is the weather vane spinning in the wind. What if you had earbuds in and nobody noticed you asleep in the young adult section? That chair is so comfy. So just imagine, Lisa has gone and I'm here by myself. And suddenly I get a call. Oh no, there's an emergency at my house. Oh no, Buster is on the loose. Is anybody here? Anybody? No? Good. Buster! Oh, that was a nice nap. Johanna! Miss Shay? Okay. Turn out the lights. I was here after midnight. I was here after noon. Sorry. Midnight? Oh no. I'm in trouble. It's kind of dark in here. Something scary. Whoop! What are you?
I am the bird who lives in the village nearby. We have no patience, and I stare at the blue. Sometimes I twist around to look at you, but every night for 1 hour I'm free.
How do you live so dark?
I decay, I just do.
Look, scary bird, get away. Look, mouse. What are you doing here?
Eat the cookies and then for parts, won't you?
Oh, no. I prefer to eat my cookies.
Oh, Raisin, bring back the chocolate chip.
No, this building is too nice and beautiful. They don't deserve a place like you.
Why not? I am so long enough. Hi, bird. Hey. Hi, mouse. Hey, bird. Minute later, midnight snack, obviously.
What is going on here? I thought I told you children to shush! Who are you? I am the Edwards Library Ghost, and I speak for all librarians! When I say shush! Woo! Quiet in the library.
I am. All I do is stand in my village stare at the clock.
Whose cookie is this?
It's mine now.
Who told you you could eat a cookie in the library? I could eat the old piece of pizza. What century are you from? I am eternal! Okay, look. All three of you need to go back to where you belong. I need to go back where I belong too. I should never have fallen asleep here. Bird, go back to your bell jar and stare at the clock. Johanna promised me that she's looking to give you very different news soon.
So then, how I would love for children to stare at me and be grossed out by me and fascinated by me.
And you, Mouse, this building's too nice for you to hang out in. What about the rocks outside by the pavilion?
The food is legal during the weekend.
Yeah, but I'm not thinking about making crumbs for you. I'm thinking about using a napkin next time.